Where is the most dangerous place you've ever been? I took a job hauling freight to remote towns in northern Canada during winter. The pay was unreal, like 5 times what I'd make driving locally. But they told me up front the roads weren't actually roads. They were frozen lakes. And timing was everything. Too early in the season and you're basically driving on thin ice waiting to crack. Too late, and the spring melt starts turning everything to slush. The dispatcher made it clear. You follow the schedule exactly, or you don't come back. Period. My first few runs went smooth. December through February, the ice was solid as concrete. I'd drive my semi across these massive frozen lakes like it was pavement. Other truckers on the radio would joke about the ice being thick enough to park a building on. Made good money those first few months, but then March rolled around and things got sketchy real fast. The temperature had been jumping around all week. One day it's minus 20, next day it's almost 40 degrees. That's when ice gets dangerous. It starts looking wet on top even when it's still solid underneath. But sometimes it's not solid underneath. My dispatcher called me on a Thursday morning, said there was one last high-paying run before they shut down the ice roads for the season. The freight was medical supplies for a remote clinic. Emergency stuff they needed before the spring thaw cut them off for months. The money was double my usual rate. I should have said no. The ice already looked different when I started loading my truck. Instead of that clear blue-white color, it had this grayish wet look, like it was sweating. But the dispatcher kept saying the weather guys promised it would stay cold enough. One more run, then done for the season. About halfway across the lake, I felt it. The truck's back end started settling slightly, like I was driving through thick mud instead of over solid ice. Then, I heard this sound that made my blood freeze, a deep groaning noise coming from underneath me. The ice was talking, and it wasn't happy. I tried to speed up to reach the shore faster, but that only made everything worse. The groaning got louder, and I could see actual cracks spreading out from my tires like spider webs. Water started bubbling up through the cracks, dark and freezing cold. I radioed for help, but the dispatcher said the nearest rescue crew was over an hour away. An hour. The water was already seeping up around my tires and the whole truck was tilting backward. I grabbed my emergency bag and climbed onto the cab roof just as the rear axle punched through completely. The truck tilted more and more until the whole back end was underwater. The cab was still above the surface, but barely. I jumped onto what looked like thicker ice about 10 feet away, landing on my stomach and spreading my weight out like they teach you. The cold hit me instantly. My hands went numb in maybe 2 minutes. I started crawling on my belly toward shore, moving as slow as possible so I wouldn't crack more ice. Every few feet I'd hear another groan from somewhere underneath me. Behind me, my truck was making these horrible metal scraping sounds as it sank deeper. The worst part was how quiet everything else was. No wind, no birds, just the sound of ice cracking and my truck disappearing. I kept thinking about how they'd probably never find my body if I went through. The lake was over 200 feet deep in some spots. After what felt like forever, I saw headlights. Another trucker had driven as close to the shore as he dared, and 2 guys were sliding across the ice toward me with ropes. They moved fast, but careful, staying low and spreading their weight just like I was doing. When they reached me, my hands were so numb I couldn't even grip the rope properly. They had to tie it around my chest and drag me backward toward shore while I tried to help with my feet. The whole time we could hear more ice breaking behind us where my truck had been. We made it to solid ground just as the sun was setting. When I looked back, there was just a hole in the ice where my truck used to be. 40 feet of lake water and my whole livelihood sitting on the bottom. The insurance didn't cover ice road accidents either, so I was completely screwed financially. I never took another ice road job after that. Found work driving local deliveries for way less money, but at least the roads don't try to kill you.